So in terms of optimizing your employee listening strategy,
Sure. A piece of research we can't take credit for, but like is from Bamboo HR, what looks at employees leaving roles and found that roughly a third of employees, 31%, leave in the first 6 months of joining.
Yeah.
So what we've seen with our client base is more and more of our clients introduce and roll out onboarding surveys. And sometimes take a little bit of time to embed in terms of the right points of the employee life cycle. Is it week 2, week 4, for example? Sometimes it takes time to build the communications in, so employees expect them, manage champions them to get the best response rates. But once you crack that nut, are really powerful, because what allows you to do is to really focus with leading data. Are you giving the best employee experience? Your insight really matters.
Yeah.
And if you have interventions, if you are, for example, improving the induction process, you can track that in real time to see is that sort of improving and therefore retention. So really, it's something employee listening. If you haven't focused on onboarding, introducing those services can be really powerful.
Absolutely. And I think that bottom image there is one of my favourite things about the onboarding tool. Something that I always learn from is about how people hear about the job and how well they're getting on. Almost if you can link that, then you've got the formula for your recruitment strategy going forward, haven't you? And that's something that we've seen play out quite well.
Well, I think that data is so important. We've seen this with some of our clients in the care sector that have had this challenge for a long time, and most creative and don't always have the biggest budgets. And we find some of our clients, you look at how someone's heard about the job and do they stay, quantifiably, and we can help you prove with some of your data. Employees that hear about the job for referral or social media. Sometimes they're much more likely to stay than those that apply for job boards. So have a look at which recruitment channels you're using that drive retention can be really powerful things to look at too. So that's one of the first top tips. Really think about the onboard experience. How do you make sure that's amazing? Because that's where a lot of your talent decide to choose to stay or leave. The second thing is really linking stuff back to the bottom line. And in terms of recruitment influencing your CFOs, look at the cost of turnover. A lot of us underestimate it's not just the recruitment fee, it's the lost productivity, it's how long someone takes to ramp to the proficient to the service in your customers. If you're a salesperson, how many quarters it takes them to really know your product and sell. It's the impact on your team. It's some of those shortages you have too. I was at a hotel group recently, and they had to shut the kitchen, the restaurant, on a weekend because they didn't have staff, and at that point, the impact the customer experience around that too. So we've launched a ROI calculator on the website, link on here too. They can put in your own data to make it really personalised, to look at what the impact is of improving retention on things like recruitment spend, productivity too. And the more and more you can speak your CFO's language in the current climate, to evidence the business case improve retention, evidence the business case invest in learn development, because it's going to reduce the reasons for people looking to leave your organisation. The better quality conversations we're going to have and influence our business in the right way, so it's sustainable.
Agreed. Love this tool. It's something that's really useful around clients.
So the else you can do to really make sure you get the business focused on the long-term perspective, and really the only way to, I think, to win the war for talent, if you can't pay more everyone else, is to build a great culture, create reasons for people to sort of connect your organization's purpose and the culture and want to stay. And one of the ways you can do this is through linkage analysis, and something we run for our clients. And if you haven't done this already, we can actually partner with you and do. And these are real life examples which we've anonymized from WorkBuzz clients, where if you start with your why are you ultimately looking to improve employee engagement? Is it to improve retention? Is it to improve your customers' experience and satisfaction? And we can link your engagement metric to your other business data and prove sort of those linkages. So we found some of our clients in retail, for example, for every 1% higher the stores are in employee engagement, 1% higher customer satisfaction, it could be absence levels, whatever it may be. But find the way to link engagement to your business KPIs is a really surefire way to sort of get buy-in from your CFO and to keep the spotlight on. If you want to drive these business outcomes, this is one of the sustainable ways of doing that.
Great. And I think then that leads us just to a few top tips. And what we've done is group recruitment, retention, and talent engagement as a topic, because we see it as one core theme around keeping your talent and bringing on the best talent. So for 3 tips here. One, it's around listen to your employees, using any data that you can run, anything that you're running in terms of your employee listening programs, be them surveys or focus groups, however you're listening at present, use the data points to inform your strategies and initiatives. Don't try and go it alone, use that employee voice. The second one is about measuring what matters. Ask actionable questions. Anyone that's not we kind of have join us brand new, quite often we find ourselves challenging their question set to understand, look, are you going to be able to act on the back of this? But that will enable you, especially with the onboarding exit questions and onboarding in particular, to make sure that you're intervening at the right times and getting the right data points from them to enable you to improve their experience. And the third piece is look at the linkage between your engagement or things like turnover or other data outcomes, but especially turnover for recruitment and retention. It's really critical to enable you over a year to then be able to predict future outcomes. If you link your turnover data with the engagement scores and how people have been responding in the past, you can then use it to create predicted turnover. Depending on how they now answer, you can then figure out who is more likely to leave you or most likely to leave you over the next year. So a few things to help in that space. The second piece is around focusing on well-being. We're big believers in creating moments that matter. If you had Dawn Smedley here, she'd say it in a much better accent than me. But we're all about enabling that human connection. And in terms of well-being, thinking about those most important times for employees, which it's not always at the best times in their career, sometimes at the hardest points. And if you that were there and you showed up, that's how you make sure that you help them in terms of well-being and you support the line managers to do so. Sharing authentic stories, so especially leaders, role modeling from the front. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to share your stories and create a safe space for employees to share their experiences and ask for help if they need it. And then the third piece is looking at the employee profiles that are struggling the most. I'm a big believer in looking at different data points, and demographic data can really help you hone in on those kind of segments or target groups that really need your support as HR professionals. And then once you know who they are, you can find the root cause of their challenges and implement solutions that will address those challenges rather than put on a sticking plaster or something that goes across the whole organisation but never actually gets to the root cause or helps the people that are most in need. Okay. And then finally, some top tips for productivity and performance. So firstly, looking at how HR drives the bottom line. Make sure that you share your data. Everyone else seems to bring some great KPIs to the table, so make sure that HR also has yours and link it to the business KPIs and what you're trying to achieve in terms of your plans and business models ahead. Second piece is looking at ROI, so return on investment from the initiatives you introduce. What have you done? What's changed?
I think a really powerful example would be if you are trying to lobby for increased long-term investment development.
Yeah.
Is can you look at those employees you invested in and over time their performance or whether they stay and compare to their peers and begin to really show the impacts on retention if that's one of the key bits of focus you at the moment.
Agreed, and especially things like talent groups or where you're making tweaks to performance or productivity elsewhere. How can you measure your impacts? And I think the final point here is around keeping that eye on the future. Let's not get too muddled in the present and the current pressures. It's really important as HR professionals and leaders that you stick your head above the parapet and look out wider and think about this whole L&D shift. We won't be able to overcome some of the challenges we're facing unless we invest and develop new talent. So that's something that we need to keep front of mind.